If you want to know how to win king and pawn versus king, you're in the right place, because that's exactly what we're going to do today. This is the Endgame series, a series in which I explain all the endgames in increasing difficulty. Also, according to YouTube statistics, only a small percentage of people who watch my videos are actually subscribed. So if you end up liking this video, consider subscribing. It's free and you can always unsubscribe. Enjoy the video. In the last lesson we discussed how to win this position. If you haven't seen that video yet, click there. We saw that if it's black to move, we always go the other way, and if it's white to move, we push the pawn forward. King to d6, king to f8, e6, king to e8, and pawn to e7. All the points around the king are protected, except for this one. After king to f7, we play the move king to d7, and we protect the promotion square. However, what I didn't tell you was that it's a little bit different if the king doesn't go to f8, but he goes to f7. If the king goes to f7, we play the move king to d7, and we control all of these squares, and now we can go and promote. This is a piece of technique you will need in this lesson. Let's have a look at the first position. In this position, the white king isn't on the 6th, but on the 5th rank. This makes a big difference, since if it's black to move, white wins, but if it's white to move, black wins. This is due to what is called opposition. Opposition occurs if there's an odd number of squares between the kings. In this case, it's one square. 1 is an odd number. This is opposition as well, since there's an odd number, 3, between the kings. We say that white has the opposition if it's black to move, and black has the opposition if it's white to move. For that reason, if white has the opposition, he wins. If black has the opposition, we can draw like this. Black controls all of these squares and we can't push the pawn with white. So the white king needs to go out of the way. After king to f5, black plays the move king to f7 and he controls all of these squares again. After king to e5, black plays the move king to e7 and now he controls all these squares. After king to d5, black plays the move king to d7 and again black controls all these squares. The white king can't pass in any way. If white starts pushing his pawn, this is an easy draw. We saw this in that video. But if black is to move and white has the opposition, it's different. If king to d7, we play the move king to f6, and if king to f7, we play the move king to d6. Let's say black plays the move king to d7. We play the move king to f6. Black plays the move king to d6 and we play e5. Black plays the move king to d7 and we play the move king to f7. This is similar as we have seen before. We want to control all of these squares with our king so that we can promote. In this position, the pawn doesn't stand on e4 but on e3. This makes a huge difference. If white has the opposition and black is to move, this is easy. We follow the rule we learned before. Let's say king to d7, we play the move king to f6. And after d6, now the technique is very important. We control all of these squares, but we need to be careful, because next move, black is gonna try and win our pawn like this. We play the move e4 and we take off this square from the king. Now we control all of these squares and black has to go to d7. We can't play king to f7 and take off all of these squares yet, because black would try and go after our pawn. After king to d6, we have to repeat the position after king to f6 and king to d7. Instead of king to f7, we should play the move e5. Black has now two options. After king to e8, we play the move king to e6 and this position is completely winning for white, as I showed you in an earlier video. If king to d8, we need to make use of our new technique and play the move king to f7, controlling all of these squares and preparing to promote the pawn. After king to d7, we can just promote, just like this. But in this position, if black has the opposition and white is to move, we can't play something like king to f5, because the black king would just follow us and take off all of our squares. Just like that. So we need another move in this position, and that's the move e4. Now we are back in a position we saw earlier, and white gained the opposition, since there's an odd number of squares between the kings, and it's black to move. Let's have a look at a mistake beginners tend to make. A beginner wants to promote as soon as possible, and so he will just push his pawn without thinking. We now understand that it's much more important to get your king before the pawn first. So that's exactly what we are going to do in this position. After king to d2, king to e7, king to e3, king to e6, and king to e4, we are back in a similar position. As we know, this position is always winning for white, and it doesn't matter who is to move. If this would be white to move, we would play the move e3 and gain the opposition like this. And if it's black to move, we have already created the opposition, and so whatever square black chooses, we go the other way. After king to d6, we play the move king to f5. After king to d5, we need to use the same technique we saw before. We play the move e3 and we control this square. After king to d6, it's very tempting to go here, but black would just go back. So we play the move e4 in this position. Let's say king to d7, we play the move king to f6, controlling as many squares as we can. After king to d6, we play the move e5, and after king to d7 and king to f7, again, we control all of these squares, and now we can safely promote. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.